Okay, we are live. Let me share my screen. Okay, good morning and good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Early Birds Weekly Explorer webinar. My name is Chris Poria. This webinar series is run by Early Birds team to promote disruptive leaders, especially innovators, and mostly focused on startups or scale-ups who have at least a minimum viable product, and of course they can have a mature product as well. Today we have a startup from Silicon Valley called SoberEye with us. SoberEye is a testing and monitoring service that addresses the problem of workers' impairment in the workplace. Fatigue, illness, alcohol, and drugs are major contributors to vehicular crashes and workplace accidents. So SoberEye is a proactive safety solution to measure these impairment risks from any cause on the job when it matters most. Antonio Visconti today is with us. He's the CEO and founder of SoberEye. Antonio is on a mission to save lives by making workplace impairment risk testing a standard practice for all safety-sensitive companies. And this includes across the industries, whether you talk about defense or police or logistics or energy or construction. It applies across all these different industries. So attendees, please share your questions through the chat box in the meantime. And Antonio, I'm handing over to you. Thank you very much. And I'll stop sharing my screen so that you can share your screen.
Perfect. There you go. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
All right. My name is Antonio Visconti. I'm the founder and the CEO.
And Antonio, I'm sorry, I think I somehow accidentally clicked on. We can't hear you. Can you switch on your audio, please?
Okay, what about now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right, so problem. Vehicular and workplace accidents. Okay, so that's what we, as you know, Chris' introduction mentioned. 90% of accident reports, they always list human error as a contributing cause. But human error is not a cause, it's actually a consequence. People make mistakes because there is something that is affecting them. Or, maybe it can be even, things about like training. People do not know how to operate a piece of equipment. People, as a matter of fact, most companies, they spend a lot of time on training. But one of the areas that is difficult to put the arms around is the human error due to the fact that a person is not 100% in good shape, fit for duty at the moment that they show up for work. And fatigue, alcohol, and drugs, and when I say drugs, meaning any kind of drugs, that doesn't need to be illegal. Allergy medication is actually one of the most dangerous drugs that everybody takes, but they put you to sleep. So those are the major contributors to accidents. And of course, besides the economic costs, of course, there is a social cost. So it is a problem. But it's not a new problem. The problem has been around for forever. As a matter of fact, there are solutions in the market. And there is a traditional approach that I call it looking for causes, right? You look for fatigue, you look for alcohol, or you look for drugs, okay? So when you look at this fact that, to try to address the problem of fatigue, alcohol, and drugs, you have to manage multiple approaches, multiple solutions. So it becomes, let's say, cumbersome, expensive, complicated. So, and when you look at these, in a sense, also ineffective because, many times when you have an accident, a point of failure, it's because there is actually more than a cause that is concurring to make that things happen. For example, I'll talk again the allergy medication. The allergy medication maybe does not really impair you, but you didn't sleep last night. All right, and so you are sleep deprived and take the allergy medication. Now, each one of those causes, placed by itself, it's not enough, but when they are combined, they put a person in a very high impairment risk condition and expose the person to injury, fatality, and so on. And so here is one of the things, the first element of what I want to mention about, try to look at the problem and shift the focus and think a bit different. And I'm going to show you something that we are all familiar with, right? The hard hat, okay? The hard hat, I think it's a good example of something that is very effective and that works and that is universally used. But for a moment, I want to invite you to think about the fact that the hard hat does not address the causes. The hard hat does not prevent object from falling. Hard hat does not prevent people from hitting their head. But the hard hat reduces the effect of all those causes that can cause the injury. All right. So for a moment, I'm just saying, look at where to look for safety, looking at what is causing it or looking at the effect, okay, and how to mitigate the effect of whatever is happening. And here we come into place because that's what we are actually doing, all right? Our innovative and proactive safety solution, really what it does is invites the people responsible to safety to shift the focus from fatigue, alcohol, and drugs to the effect of fatigue, alcohol, and drugs. At that point, really, it doesn't matter what's causing the impairment. If you detect impairment, all right, you have significantly, enormously improved the safety of the workplace. Because our solution, that's exactly what it does. It detects impairment risk and doesn't matter what's causing it. What is important to notice is that operators check themselves. So it's a self-test. It takes 1 minute. It's portable, can be used anytime and anywhere. Identify the person taking the test through iris recognition. Of course, this is a benefit for 2 reasons. 1, people cannot cheat. And 2, really makes it the deployment of the solution easy and, in a sense, inexpensive, because you do not need to have people to administer a test. You don't need people to supervise the test. People just take the test by themselves. And then there is the immediate test result. The result is immediate, provides a feedback immediately to the person taking the test. There is a great benefit into that in terms of teaching the people of what causing them not to be in top shape, and actually somehow help them to adopt safer behavior. I will show that into our case study where you'll see the impact of the technology.
Hey, Antonio.
Yes.
It seems the slides have frozen, but it may not be your issue. What I'll do is I'll give me most probably 10 seconds. Let me reboot the team room. It will automatically fix everything.
Okay.
Give me a second. And everybody, it will take 10, 15 seconds.
It's not from me, it's from
Yeah. So Jeff, you can, if you don't mind, again, yep, thank you. And we should have hopefully Antonio back. Not yet, it seems. Yeah, Antonio joining. Thank you, Antonio, for your patience. Yeah, you are back. So if you want to share your screen, you are good to go.
Okay.
Thank you.
No, thank you. So, and you have seen in the previous slide that the self-test is a little device that people put over their eyes, and the device is cloud connected. So all the measurements are reported into the cloud, and customers have their own enterprise level dashboard where they have real-time reporting. They can set up a notification, and they can analyze and look at the data, over time, and that's extremely powerful. I'm gonna give you now a little background on the science of what we do, okay? Our technology is based on the analysis of what is called the pupillary light reflex. The pupillary light reflex is the pupil reaction to changing light intensity. If you look at an eye, we have the white part that's called cornea, the colored part that's called iris, and that's where the muscles of controlling the pupil are, and the pupil is the hole in the middle that lets the lights in, and so the pupil gets larger in a dark environment, gets smaller in a brighter environment. The PLR is an involuntary reflex. It's completely controlled by the autonomic nervous system. We cannot, in a consciously way, modify our pupillary response. It's completely, controlled by that. And that's why the pupillary analysis is used, it's an accepted method for actually the most effective non-invasive method to check for neurological activity, neurological condition. Now, the other important element that is to understand is because this pupillary reflex is controlled by our hardware, it's really a reflection of the hardware, right, the brain. And this means that each one of us has a typical response when light condition changes, okay? And it's the concept that we talk baseline. Each one of us has a baseline. Put in the same condition, same light condition, same light stimulus, our pupillary response is always the same. And this is one of our secret sauce of, our innovation is the fact that our system, the first thing that does when it gets deployed, learns about the baseline, the typical response of each person. So the test is absolutely personalized, okay? We are extremely accurate because we know each person that is enrolled in the system, what kind of response it has, and then we can tell when that response is not normal. And if it's not normal, it means the person is at high impairment risk. And that's the way our solution works. We say low risk, where we tell the person that we are unable to detect a variation or an alteration in their pupillary response, or we say high risk. And if somebody is high risk, we are 99.9% certain that the pupillary response is altered and that person is at high risk of impairment and should not take, undertake any dangerous activity. As I said, pupillary analysis, it's a science that's been, studied for the last 100 years. It's used in critical care and clinical settings. All right, they use pupillometers, expensive medical grade machines that require a specialized technician to use them. And this is, again, the other part of our innovation. We do exactly what they do. The only difference that now we do it in a device that is inexpensive and it is a self-test. And of course, you're familiar with the fact that the police also does it, okay? So this is really just to, let's say, confirm the fact that the science is well accepted. There is an enormous body of publication. The things has been studied for the last 100 years. And actually, I want to stress another point here. We did not invent the science. What we have invented is the fact that we have made it extremely easy to make those measurements and report this data, the personalization of the measurement, the self-test, and the inexpensive testing device. So we have been in the market. Our solution has been released to market for the last 2 years. We have customers around the world using our technology. Thousands of people actually use our technology every day. They test every day. The sectors where we are involved are, those sectors with the major, where they are most sensitive, safety sensitive companies, transportation, mining, construction, and manufacturing, industrial sectors, right? Anywhere where somebody either, operate heavy equipment, drive something, or maybe climb a roof, any place where it is dangerous. So I'm going to share now our case study, okay? And I'm taking as an example, our first customer, and I think it's very representative for a couple of reasons, because the first customer was a corporate taxi service. So they had a contract with a corporation where they picked up employees, managers, take them around town. They actually, used our technology not only for safety, but also for marketing, because, the way they win the contract is that by, telling the customers as we have the safest drivers because we check them, we make sure that before they come to pick you up, they are not impaired. So I wanted to, just highlight that aspect. The other reason I chose this is because the drivers, they all start the shift from home. So each one of the driver was provided with the testing equipment, okay? And what they do is they are supposed to test before starting the shift, and if they are high risk, they cannot work that day, okay? So I want to highlight here that although, not working is a sort of punishment, but really the company does not see it that way. They really have sent the message that, nobody gets fired for not passing the test, right? So it's not used to control, to punish. It's a tool to say, hey, you put this thing, you cannot work because you put yourself and our customers at risk if you drive, if the test says that you are impaired. So what I'm going to show you now, the impact on these 13 drivers that have worked with continuity for 15 months from October 2018 through December 2019, okay? So here is the chart. It's divided by quarters. So we have 2018 fourth quarter to 2019 fourth quarter. The bars represent the number of tests that those drivers have taken that quarter, okay? And the red line represents the percentage of those tests that came up as high risk. So when it was high risk, they were not working. The first thing that I think jumps out, of course, is the fact that, the occurrences of high risk result went down, right? Pretty dramatically, and it stayed down. Okay, so this is clearly tell that whatever was happening, the people taking the test, they saw the result, they looked at it, and they start thinking and says, what happened? Did I sleep last night? Did I take my allergy medication? Or maybe, hey, I've been partying too late. Well, whatever is the reason, we do not know, but they know. And they've been able to make changes so that whatever was happening was not happening anymore, right? So what I say is that, over the use of the technology, over those months, they've adopted safer behaviors. They've changed their lifestyle so that, of course, they wanted to work, but they also want to be safe. And they were able to do that. Another important information from this data is the fact that, if you look at the beginning, the percentage of high risk was almost 3 times what they were able to achieve after a few months of use of the technology. I think this also tells us a very important aspect, that probably, if we do a little bit of reflection on how we behave, it's pretty obvious. It's really hard to judge our own impairment condition. It's really hard, even somebody that, you go to work or you want to drive, to admit that we are tired or that, we are not okay 100%. We, as human beings, have the tendency to push it through. All right, I can do it. All right, admitting that I'm not okay, some feels like a failure. But you know what? Here instead, there is an objective measurement that tells you that. And you cannot argue with that. You think about it and says, what did I do? Okay? And so, here we see a typical behavior of, us as humans that, we try to say, I can do it. But actually, that's not the case. All right? But when we face with an objective measurement, we do the right thing. The other important trend that is visible in this chart is the fact that, look at the number of tests that the people have been taking every quarter. It's been going up. Remember, it's the same 13 people, okay? And also remember that if they did not pass the test, they were not working that day. I think it's important to notice that the fact that they tested more, it's a clear indication that they accepted and embraced the technology. They understood the value for their own safety, and they understood the value that by checking themselves before driving, they were going to make sure that, that they were coming back at the end of the day, and they reduced their chance of accident. Think about it. I want to really stress this fact that the technology is well accepted by the employees, because I often get these questions. They say, hey, the people maybe says you're controlling me. Well, they may say that at the beginning, but when they use it, they understand. These people were testing from home. There was nobody there checking them, okay? If they wanted to really boycott the technology, they could just, call back the office and says, hey, I'm fine, but this thing is telling me that I'm not, and I'm going to lose a day wage. But they did not do that. They kept using it. They saw the benefit. They understood the benefit. When the system was telling them high risk, they looked at whatever they did and they says, it's right. Okay? So, and this connects what I said in the beginning. The immediate test result is a great tool. It's a great tool that people, see the results. It's not punitive. It's not inquisitive. It's not somebody knocking on your shoulder and says you're not okay. It's an objective measurement, and the people think about it and do the right thing. The next slide now addresses the data analytics. What I'm showing you here is the last 3 months of use, just as an example. And we have the 13 employees here, okay? And we have the percentage for those 3 months of low-risk result and the high-risk result. If you recall the previous slide, they were all going, the average for all 13 was in the 3% range of high-risk result over a 3 month period. But of course, that 3% is not distributed uniformly among the people. There is somebody that's got higher percentage, somebody has none, right, much lower. Now think about it. You have this information, okay? Before, your 13 people, they were all the same for you. Now you know that somebody represents higher risk because he has more occurrences of high risk result. And maybe this person needs help, right? But you can have a conversation now. Now you can identify among your 13 people, or whatever is your workforce, the people that represent higher risk than other people. And you can help them, right? The fact this person had 10%, it doesn't mean that it was a drug addict. Maybe they had a baby and is not sleeping at night. or they change the shift and the shift is not compatible within. Whatever is the reason, it's gonna be a reason, and now you can investigate, and you can use your resources and focus where the problem is, right? So the data analytics allows the identification of individuals that may need attention, help, and so it's a way for you to find out before the problem occurs. And I'm concluded here, just summarizing the concept that the power of SoberEye is that it promotes safer behavior, it's accepted by the employees, and detects potential high-risk situations, so allows you to act before something becomes a real problem. Prevent accident, save lives, save money. And so I'm open for questions.
Now, this is great, Antonio. And it seems that this is even a lifestyle and health solution, not just a safety solution. So really great to understand this. And everybody, please put your questions through the chat box. So Antonio, actually, it's my first question. Is do you need to take a sample from all the users before they can be tested, or?
That's correct.
Okay.
When the system is deployed, for the first 5 to 10 days, the system is self-learning. Okay. It learns about the person, and it has to be done over multiple days because we want to make sure that we capture day-by-day variation of the people, right? We cannot capture the baseline in one day because you do not know what the day is. But over several days, you can really capture the typical response of the person. So that's the way we acquire the baseline. From the user point of view, there is no difference. They test the same way.
Okay. And then we got a question from Joe saying that in many industrial sites, people are required to work a 12-hour shift. Do you have any data where tests are done over 12-hour period to check the deterioration in fitness for work?
Well, we are using in manning operation. Those are typical of that situation. What I want to highlight about fatigue, okay? The detection of fatigue. Remember, we look at the pupillary reflex, so we take a picture of the brain. So if you fatigue intend that somebody's tired, like going to the gym and you're tired, that's not what gets detected, because that's not a neurological condition. You need to have that fatigue that impairs your judgment, all right? And so a 12-hour shift, it may impact some people because, they didn't sleep earlier, they didn't sleep enough, and actually, it's more the sleep deprivation that has an effect on the brain. But if you're just tired because you have been lifting weight, it doesn't show because it has to affect the brain. Okay, and so long shift actually comes to be detected at the end of the shift or the day after if people because of that have been affected neurologically.
Okay, great. And I think there's another question from Joe as well, that the shift workers working offshore, especially when they are away for 2-3 weeks, have you seen any data out of those kind of shift workers who has been away for 2-3 weeks?
In those operations, right now we are in use in a couple of mines, actually at least 4 mines, in different parts of the world where they operate exactly like that, where they have those several weeks on and several weeks off, and they see a great benefit because of that, because it provides. So these people, think about it, they do the 12-hour shift, then they go to the barracks and have nothing to do, and they may drink or may do something else. The fact that they receive that feedback helps them to do the right thing, okay? Because, by the way, they do not want to get killed either, all right? So every place like that, they absolutely love our technology. The result is exactly the same of what I've shown you there, okay? The difference.
No more questions.
Okay.
Antonio, given that we got very limited time left. So next question from Lanka what are your next steps in terms of expansion into more industries and regions?
Well, in terms of region, we are already worldwide. So, in the sense that either we have a local distributor or we support people remotely. Our technology is very easy to use. We can train an organization in less than an hour over a Zoom call. There's no problem. The hardware is very resilient. If it breaks, we replace it. So the only thing that the customer needs to do is really two things. One is setting up a process where they say, every time you come to work, you have to test. And then the policy, it says, if you do not pass the test, what do you do? Other than that, we take care of everything. There's no IT involved because everything is web-based. It's absolutely super easy to use.
Okay, there are a few more questions coming up. Next question from Janaki. Have doctors working long shifts and continuously being tested?
I do not have an example of continues to be tested, but I have example where they've tested like a couple of times, like at the beginning of the shift, after lunch, and then somebody just doing some spot check at the end of the shift to understand if something is happening.
Okay.
But
great.
multiple time of days, and I do not have an example of that.
Okay, no problem. Next question is from Liam, saying that great concept and thanks for the presentation. I'm wondering if the same technology could be used to help optimize a workforce. For example, sorry, I got another question in the meantime. When is the best time to do particular task? This could be a more positive way of presenting the idea in some context too. So basically, his question is maybe this could also be applied into optimizing the workforce. For example, looking at the best time to do a particular task, right? In a positive way, this could be, hey, this is the best time to do your innovation thinking, or your, and this is the best time to do this kind of task.
Well, the thing is that when you start using this thing, through our web interface, you can look at the data and you can see when the people have high risk result. And so you can look and say, it happens most often in the afternoon, or it happens most often in the morning, or it happens this day of the week. All right. Data is power. All right. All this data will be, it's in the data analytics part, right? So after you use the technology, for a couple of months, 2-3 months, you may start seeing trends, right? And as I said, with those 13 people, you can see which one needs help, but then you can do, on a time scale, come out with the see patterns where it says, hey, maybe the morning is better than the afternoon, or Mondays are better than Fridays.
Yeah. And we got next question, Antonio, from Suren. He's asking, I believe the current process is to do a blood test to check for drugs and alcohol. Can this technology replace blood tests?
The answer is we are different. No, a blood test looks for the drug. And the only thing that you find out if somebody has been using the drug in the past. A drug test or a blood test does not tell you if a person is impaired on the job. Remember that, right? If marijuana, for example, stays in your body for weeks, and now it's legal almost everywhere. A drug test, it does not replace that because we are better. Because, we tell you that the person showing up at work is a risk. Instead, a drug test only tells you that the person has been using a drug in the past, and you can only check for illegal drugs.
Okay. No problem. Thank you very much, Antonio, and thank you very much, everybody, for your patience today. And very interesting technology. As I mentioned, that I felt that it's not only just the safety. I also felt that this is kind of a lifestyle and health solution as well, to provide that end-to-end solution. So, Antonio, really appreciated your presentation. Right. And all of us are looking forward to be getting in touch with you and talking and hopefully exploring some solutions, especially in Australian market.
All right, and let me add the last thing is, as you know, we offer a free trial to everybody. So we are very confident of our technology, and anybody that wants to give it a try, we let them use it for a month so they can use it in their own specific environment and see how it works for them.
Great. Thank you very much, Antonio. You have a good afternoon.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.